I got a message one morning as to restaurant notification. It said my wife, Evelyn, had reserved a table for Valentine's Day. That caught me off guard. Usually, I'm the one planning these things every year. Still, for a moment, it felt nice, like maybe she wanted to surprise me this time. But by evening, all I received was a short text. I have to work overtime tonight. No dinner, no plans. Just another quiet night. Later, as I scrolled through my phone, a post popped up on WeChat from her junior, Peter. The caption read, "Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone. A fancy restaurant, a sweet person. Tonight's cake was sweet, but not as sweet as your lips." And there it was, a photo of them together. His arm around her waist. That gentle, smug smile. She was wearing the necklace I'd given her that very morning. The bottle of wine on the table, my gift. And the restaurant, our restaurant, the place where I'd proposed to her, the place that once held all our memories. In the past, I might have lost it. Called her. Demanded answers. But this time, I just felt tired. When she came home, I was sitting at the table eating a mango, something I hadn't touched in years because she's allergic. Even a touch makes her break out in hives. She froze for a second, clearly surprised to see me still awake. Then she handed me a box and said flatly, "Happy Valentine's Day, honey." To be fair, Evelyn's always been a thoughtful wife. She buys gifts ahead of time, expensive, carefully chosen ones, like the Patek Philippe watch I'd just unwrapped. But the timing, the coincidence, it all felt hollow. That morning, the restaurant owner, who'd known us since college, called to confirm the reservation. He even joked about being the third wheel again. I laughed and told him, "Just make sure there's no mango in the dessert, my wife's allergic." We hung up. A few hours later, she called to say she'd be working late. Then came Peter's post. The same restaurant. The same wine. And a cake layered with mango puree. When Evelyn finally sat across from me that night, she frowned. "Why is there mango?" she asked. I just looked at her, calm, detached, and ordered another box of mango slices for myself. It tasted sweet, sharp, freeing. Something I hadn't allowed myself in years. When I stood up to leave, she reached out and grabbed my arm. "Oliver, it's Valentine's Day." I turned to her blankly. "So what?" She moved closer, her voice soft and teasing. "On a night like this, are you really going to bed so early?" There was a faint trace of smoke on her. Something unfamiliar. I stepped back and said quietly, "I just ate mango. You'll have an allergic reaction." Her face froze. I walked away, closed the bedroom door, and locked it. A few minutes later, my phone rang, my supervisor. "Have you decided on the position?" "Don't back out because of Evelyn again." I smiled. "No, not this time. 3 years ago, I turned down that job. More money, more travel, because I didn't want to leave her alone. She's always been the steady one. Reserved, traditional, serious, a classic ISTJ. That's who she is. And maybe that's why it took me half a year just to hold her hand back in school. Everyone used to say she was too cold, too dull. They never understood why I loved her. But I did. Because once, a long time ago, she saved my life. It was during an earthquake in middle school. The building shook. Kids were screaming. Everyone rushed outside. I tripped, fell, and hit my leg on a desk. While the crowd fled, she fought against it, pushing through the chaos just to reach me. She wouldn't leave until I was up and walking again. Later, I asked her why she did it. What if she had died? She looked at me quiet for a long time, then whispered, "I wasn't thinking that much. I just thought, if I couldn't make it, I'd rather die with you." That's Evelyn. She probably never imagined there'd come a day when she'd leave me behind. For someone else. I never doubted her love, not once. But love, I've learned, can be painfully temporary. My supervisor must have heard something in my voice that day, a crack I didn't mean to let slip. She said, "Who hasn't made mistakes, Oliver? It's easy to blame the past instead of fixing the present. Just don't lose your courage. When life turns on you, turn it back." Then, with that smug little laugh of hers, she added, "Of course, I never make mistakes. You, on the other hand, aren't as perfect. But whatever happens, don't lose the woman and the job. You start in 3 days. Argentina, remember? Don't be half-hearted this time." The next morning, I woke up early to start handing off my projects. Evelyn was sitting in the living room. Her lips were slightly swollen, a faint allergic reaction. She must have kissed Peter after that mango dessert last night. I walked past her without a word, but she grabbed my wrist. "Why are you mad?" she asked. Because I didn't spend Valentine's with you? I told you I had to work overtime. The company's going public, Oliver. Do you know how hard it is for a woman to reach management? Everyone's watching me, I have to set an example. That's how it always was. I loved her, so I endured it. Even when I was in the hospital and she didn't answer a single call. I said nothing. But one evening, when I went to pick her up from work, her phone rang. She was in the middle of doing her eyebrows. She dropped everything, smiled softly, and answered. That's when I heard his name for the first time, Peter. That was the moment I realized she wasn't too busy to take a call. She just wasn't taking mine. She wasn't distant with everyone, only with me. I pulled my hand from her grip and said quietly, That's enough, Evelyn. We're done. Before I could even finish, her phone rang again. She glanced at the screen and her eyes softened. Peter's boyish voice came through the speaker, light and teasing. Sis, come pick me up. It's freezing. I don't want to get out of bed. If you don't come, I'll be late, but you can't dock my pay. Her expression changed instantly, that mix of warmth and concern she never showed me anymore. You afraid of the cold? The same guy who climbs snowy mountains at night? She said, smiling. All right, Peter, get up. I'm bringing you breakfast anyway. I couldn't help but laugh, bitterly this time. Then Peter's tone shifted slightly, like he'd just remembered something. Oh, and tell Ning thanks for me. Yesterday I not only ate at his restaurant, I borrowed one of his staff too. I'll make it up to him. Evelyn's face went pale. She quickly turned the phone volume down. At that point, it was almost funny. When betrayal becomes that obvious, what else can you do but laugh? I turned to leave. But she rushed after me. Yesterday, Peter had a client dinner, she said quickly. He forgot to make a reservation, so I gave him ours. It was just business, you understand, right? Business, Valentine's Day. With a client. She didn't even realize how absurd she sounded. And the way her hand nervously twisted her wedding ring, she didn't even notice she was doing it. That's how I knew she was lying. Not long after, Peter called again. Another excuse. Another sudden emergency. And she left. Just like that. That winter was brutally cold. Roads blocked, deliveries stopped. One night I asked Evelyn to make some porridge because I wasn't feeling well. She nodded, stood up, then grabbed her coat. Peter doesn't have any food at home, she said. I'm going to cook for him. I just sat there frozen, not because of the fever, but because I didn't even know what to ask anymore. Back in high school, if I skipped a meal, she'd scold me, coldly, but with care. You'll only get worse if I don't take care of you, she used to say, shoving a bowl of steaming rice cakes into my hands. She'd roll her eyes and add, You're always causing me trouble. Now, she didn't even notice when I was sick. At the office, my supervisor dropped a mountain of work on my desk. Finish all of this in 3 days, she said. Or don't bother showing up. So I buried myself in it, anything to stop thinking. Late that night, when I finally checked my phone, a new email had arrived. The draft of our divorce papers. I sat there for a long time. Then, without really deciding to, I got up, grabbed my coat, and took a cab straight to Evelyn's office. Outside, snow was falling hard, the kind that muffles everything, even your thoughts. By the time I reached her building, the power had gone out. The halls were dark. I switched on my phone's flashlight. Then a message pinged. A colleague sent me a link. Isn't this that heavy metal concert you always wanted to go to? He wrote hesitantly. Confused, I clicked it. The link opened to a social post, Peter's account. It was all there. His account, his posts, his memories with her. Every photo, every caption. Turns out Peter had known Evelyn since high school. He'd followed her to college. And now he worked at the same company. His bio read, Being head over heels for her isn't just your privilege. That line hit like a knife. I clicked the video and suddenly I understood why my colleague had sounded so hesitant. The concert lights flashed across Peter and Evelyn's faces. They were holding hands. Kissing like two people lost in their own world. My phone slipped from my hand and crashed against the floor. For a moment, I just stared, numb, then the anger hit. Hot, suffocating, and deep. Evelyn and I had been together for most of our lives. We grew up side by side. And yet, staring at that screen, I realized I didn't know her at all. From her office, I could hear her voice, soft, breaking between sobs. I'm sorry, but we really can't. And then his shaky, desperate. I just like you, Evelyn. What did I do wrong? Through the glass, I saw Peter reach out, wrap his arms around her waist, his hand brushing her cheek. Then he leaned in and kissed her. The power came back on with a bang, bright light flooding the room. They froze. Their eyes widened like deer caught in headlights. "Oliver," she breathed. "Why are you here?" Peter stumbled forward, hands up. "Ning, it's not what it looks like. I'm in love with her. It's not her fault." I walked toward him slowly, I calm, almost too calm, and then without warning drove my fist into his face. Before he could fall, I grabbed him by the collar. "That's for your pathetic face," I spat. "I've seen a lot of pretentious women in my life, but never a man who could outdo them." He tried to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. Another punch, straight to the stomach. He doubled over, gasping. Evelyn snapped out of her daze. "Oliver..." The sound of my hand connecting with her cheek cut her off. She stumbled, one hand over her face, tears spilling instantly. I pulled off my wedding ring and tossed it at her. It hit her chest and fell to the floor with a soft, final clink. When she finally spoke, her voice was shaking. "Oliver, don't do this. Please, just listen." But I was already handing her the papers. "We're getting a divorce," I said quietly. She followed me all the way downstairs, crying, begging, tripping over her words. "Oliver, please. It's not what you think. There's nothing between us." Snow was falling hard by then, swirling around us under the streetlights. Half the office was watching from the windows above, but she didn't care. She pressed herself against the cab door, refusing to let me in. "He's just a kid," she cried. "He doesn't know any better. I let out a dry laugh. "So what, Evelyn? You're just teaching him how to kiss?" She froze, her red eyes searching mine like she was looking for a version of me that would forgive her. "Don't look at me like that," she whispered. "Please, Oliver!" "Don't!" Her voice broke. "We've been together over 10 years. I can't live without you. Peter was just an accident." But then someone yelled from behind her, "Evelyn! Peter's gone to the rooftop." She turned instinctively, her hand slipping from the car door. I gave a bitter laugh and slammed it shut. In the rearview mirror, I saw her hesitate, a few steps toward me, then back toward the building. And just like that, she disappeared inside. Only then did the pain hit, sharp and hollow all at once. The driver glanced at me through the mirror. "You all right, kid?" he asked softly. I didn't answer, just turned my face to the window and wiped my eyes. When I got home, I started packing. The phone wouldn't stop ringing, her parents, my parents, all of them trying to mediate. I couldn't help but think, she really doesn't waste time. She's calming Peter down from jumping off a rooftop and still managing to call the parents to fix her marriage. They said the same thing, both sides. "Son, just make sure whatever you do, it's for your happiness." By the time I zipped up the last suitcase, the house felt painfully quiet. I opened the door, and there she was, Evelyn, standing there, eyes swollen, face pale. She looked like a child caught stealing. "Oliver, don't go," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "Please, don't leave. I can explain." When I didn't respond, she broke. "Hit me, scold me, hate me if you have to, just don't look at me like that." She grabbed my suitcase, pressing it down with both hands. "Please, Oliver. We promised to grow old together. Our parents are waiting for us in Beicheng for New Year. You can't leave now. Mom and Dad miss you so much." I sighed. My voice came out low. "What do you want from me, Evelyn?" She dropped to her knees, clutching my leg, sobbing so hard it shook her whole body. "Please, give me another chance. I'll do better. I promise." Her tears soaked through my clothes. I didn't say a word. My eyes drifted to the floor, to a photo that had slipped from my suitcase. Our college graduation. Evelyn and I stood smiling in the foreground. And there, in the background, under the shade of a tree, was Peter, staring at Evelyn. And Evelyn, she wasn't looking at me. Her gaze had passed right through me, and found him. So it had started that early, hadn't it? All those memories I thought were just ours, Evelyn's and mine, had always had someone else quietly standing in the frame. When I looked at her now, she trembled, unable to meet my eyes, like someone waiting for a sentence they already knew was coming. And then, to her surprise, I said softly, "All right." Her head snapped up, disbelief flashing across her tear-streaked face. "Really, Oliver, are you really willing to start over with me?" I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, on one condition." Her eyes widened, hope flickering back to life. Remember how we planned that island trip back in high school? The one we never took? I said, voice calm, almost too calm. I want us to finally do it. 5 days, just you and me. She nodded so fast it almost broke my heart. She threw her arms around me, whispering against my chest. It's that simple? Yeah, it was that simple. At least that's what I let her believe. Deep down, I already knew she wouldn't be able to do it. When I really thought about it, Evelyn falling for Peter wasn't that shocking. She'd lived her whole life by the book, careful, composed, obedient. From her hometown to the capital, from school to marriage, every step of her life had been planned out. So maybe it was only natural that she'd crave something wild. And Peter was that wild thing, a spark. The rush of cold soda on a scorching day. He was impulsive, alive. The kind of man who'd drag her up a mountain at midnight just to watch the sunrise, who'd kiss her at a concert with the whole world watching. Who could resist that? Evelyn promised me that after our island trip, she'd never leave my side again. She was terrified I'd change my mind, so she clung to me like I might vanish. This time, she planned everything, the flights, the hotel, the itinerary, as if she could plan her way back into my heart. Meanwhile, I scrolled through social media, watching Peter unravel in real time. He posted about her every day, pouring his heart out like it was some kind of ritual. Then one day he finally snapped, posted something raw. The person she loves is me. I actually laughed. I replied with my own post, starting a new life with my wife on the islands. The past is gone. What's left is only us. Not long after, Peter reached out. Wanted to meet. At the cafe, he glared at me like a man on the edge. You're really forgiving her? After everything? I just smiled, didn't bother answering. He slammed his fist on the table. You're actually leaving with her? Moving away? Why hasn't she said anything to me? I dropped a visa envelope on the table, our expedited paperwork. Evelyn begged me for another chance, I said lightly. I told her if she could drop everything and leave with me, I'd forgive her. I smiled again, but it didn't reach my eyes. Peter's face twisted. That's impossible. She loves me. She told me she did. His voice cracked, a mix of fury and heartbreak. I leaned forward coldly. She stole 10 years of my life and gave you what? A few kisses in the dark? Before he could react, I poured my coffee over his head, then hit him, hard enough to send him to the floor. Grabbing his hair, I forced him to look up. Pathetic, I whispered. You actually believed she loved you? Peter's expression flickered. Anger, shame, realization. And that's when I knew he understood. If Evelyn left with me, she'd prove where her heart really was. And if she didn't, then she'd lose everything. At the airport, Evelyn stood there, nervously checking her phone, lips pressed tight. Oliver, she said softly, Peter, he's been in a car accident. It's serious. Can we postpone the trip? Of course he'd pull something like that. I stared at her, silent, memorizing the lines of her face. Then I said quietly, I know why you didn't come to that concert with me that night. She froze. That night, it was Peter's birthday, she whispered. He invited me. I couldn't say no. I let out a hollow laugh. You remember my 18th birthday? You kept asking what I wanted. I told you my dream was to see that band live. You got upset, asked why my wish didn't include you. I looked her dead in the eyes. My wish was to see them with you. That night, I was at that concert. Would you like me to continue the next part of this rewrite after the concert reveal in the same Netflix narrator tone? I just didn't know that while I was lost in the music, my favorite band's farewell concert, my wife was in the same crowd, kissing someone else. That night, I even texted her a simple reminder to eat something. Just one of those small, thoughtless messages couples send without thinking. It went unanswered, swallowed by silence. Evelyn's voice trembled, rising in panic. There'll be other chances. There won't be, I cut in, my tone flat. That was their farewell concert, Evelyn. There won't be another one. Our eyes met, hers filled with guilt, mine already empty. For a long moment, neither of us said a word. Then I sighed, forcing a tired smile. Go on, I said gently. He's been in an accident, right? You're his supervisor. It'd look bad if you didn't go. I paused, my voice softening, almost nostalgic. As for the islands, we'll just go next time. For a split second, she looked relieved, like a prisoner who'd just been told her sentence was postponed. She rushed off, disappearing into the snow, heading straight for Peter. I stood there watching her go, the plane ticket still crumpled in my hand. Then, slowly, I tore it into pieces and tossed it into the nearest trash bin. By the time her cab disappeared into the storm, I was already printing a new ticket, one that didn't say the islands. It said Argentina. When Evelyn woke the next morning, she wasn't in our bed. She was lying in Peter's arms. His lips brushed against her face, soft, tender, too familiar. Her eyes flew open. For a moment, she didn't move. Then it hit her. This wasn't Oliver. The night before, she had rushed to the hospital, heart pounding, only to realize Peter's accident had been a lie. She'd been furious at first, until he broke down, tears streaming down his face. "Evelyn, I've loved you for so many years," he'd said. "Just one last time. Stay with me, please." Her mind screamed at her to leave, to run back to Oliver, to the life they'd built since childhood. But her heart hesitated when Peter looked at her that way. So desperate, so fragile, and now in the cold gray light of morning, dread crept over her like a shadow. Something was wrong. It was the kind of sinking feeling you get when you dream of falling, that instant before you hit the ground. She thought of Oliver's face at the airport. That faint, sad smile when he waved goodbye. He'd looked at her like a man who'd already decided to let go. She shot out of bed, searching for her phone. Peter stirred, confused. "Evelyn, what's wrong?" Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Dead battery. She stared at the black screen like sheer willpower could bring it to life. When it finally powered on, it started ringing immediately. Her mother's voice exploded through the speaker, panicked, furious. It took Evelyn a moment to understand the words. Oliver had sent everything. Every photo. Every message. Every piece of proof of her affair with Peter, neatly compiled into a PowerPoint presentation, a 320-megabyte file. He'd sent it to everyone, their families, their colleagues, their friends. The last slide was so very Oliver, petty, poetic, and devastating. A photoshopped wedding picture of Evelyn and Peter, smiling beneath the words, "Let's wish this lovely couple a lifetime of childless, everlasting happiness." Her hands shook as she ended the call. There was one message from Oliver, just a picture of the divorce papers on his desk, and a single line beneath it, "Sign it and send it to my office." She drove home like a woman possessed, through sleet, through red lights, through shouting drivers she didn't even hear. The roads were slick with ice, but she didn't slow down. All she could think was, "I need to find him." Oliver had always been soft-hearted. He loved her. There had to be a way to fix this. But when she burst through the front door, the house was hollow. Every trace of him was gone. His clothes, his things, his warmth. She stood there, trembling, staring at the empty room. She remembered teasing him while he packed for their trip. "Why are you bringing so much?" She'd laughed. "It's not like we're never coming back." He'd smiled at her, a quiet, knowing smile, and said nothing. Now she understood. He had been planning to leave all along. She ran from place to place trying to find him, his office, his colleagues, anyone who might know. But doors kept closing in her face. Even the people who once admired her wouldn't meet her eyes. Eventually, she learned the truth. Oliver had accepted a new position. He was already gone, flying from city to city with no return date in sight. That's when it finally sank in. He hadn't left her in a moment of anger. He'd been leaving for a long time. Little by little, their chat history was empty now. No emojis, no jokes, just silence. Every message she sent came back with a red exclamation mark, undelivered. His social media was wiped clean like she'd never existed. The only thing he left behind was a reposted quote, "When did you decide to break up?" When I realized my future would feel as suffocating as today. I just want to live happily. After finishing my business, I set aside a few days to explore Argentina. That's how it read in my travel log. Simple, detached, like nothing had happened. But every step I took through those foreign streets, I carried the ghost of a woman who'd already died in my heart. This country, 22,000 kilometers from home, was bathed in summer light. The sun stretched across the land like a golden veil. In Buenos Aires, tango dancers twirled in the sunset, every spin echoing the rhythm of a city that blended European grace with Latin fire. When a business partner invited me to Mendoza, I found myself surrounded by endless vineyards, green waves rolling beneath the sun. With every sip of Malbec, it felt like the cold winter inside me was melting away. Then my phone rang. It was Evelyn. Her voice was rough, trembling. "Oliver, and where are you?" I glanced at the glass in my hand. thought about the distance between us, and said, "On the other side of the world. If you've signed the divorce papers, send them to my office. If not, don't call." Silence. And then softly, "I'm sorry." Her sobs crossed oceans. Her voice broke like glass, filled with regret and desperation. "Oliver, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Tell me what to do. I'll do anything." 20 years, Oliver. We've been together for over 20 years. How can you just let it all go? How can you be so heartless? I smiled quietly. She must have heard it because her crying stopped. "Why are you laughing?" she whispered. I looked down at the glass in my hand and said, "Because, Evelyn, you're always like this. So sure that I still love you. So sure that if you cry, I'll feel sorry for you. But did you ever stop to think maybe I don't love you anymore?" When I finally returned home to Beijing, it was New Year's Eve. The air outside shimmered with fireworks, and the smell of hot pot drifted through the house. Childhood sweethearts, they say, know each other too well, and maybe that's the problem. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Evelyn. She looked smaller somehow, her hair messy, her sweater worn thin. The woman who once walked with pride now looked like she was fading into the cold. The PowerPoint I'd made had shattered her reputation, and Peter's too. Since then, her life had crumbled piece by piece. The people who once praised her had turned away. I'd heard bits of gossip at dinner, but I didn't care to know more. She looked at me, eyes full of despair, a flicker of hope still clinging to her words. "Every year, we've always spent New Year's Eve together. Oliver, I love you. I can't live without you." For a second, I remembered the girl she used to be, sneaking out in the snow to give me a red string bracelet she'd made herself. I thought seeing her again would hurt. But it didn't. There was nothing left. Outside, fireworks bloomed across the sky, bright, fleeting, gone. The long winter was ending. A new year was waiting. "Evelyn," I said quietly, "don't do this. It's New Year's. Seeing you like this makes me sick." Her face turned pale. I closed the door. When my parents asked who it was, I just said no one. Then I sat back down, fighting for the last piece of beef in the hot pot. The room was filled with laughter, warmth, family. It was perfect. Life moved fast after that. Under my so-called brilliant supervisor, my career took off. I was always in a new city, a new country, each postcard home becoming part of a growing collection on my mom's fridge. She started calling me her travel frog. On the phone, she'd worry like always. "Son, please be careful. Japan has so many earthquakes." I laughed, biting into mango bread as fireworks burst over the river. "Don't worry, Mom, it's not that bad." But fate has a way of laughing back. Moments later, the meteorological agency issued a massive warning. Nankai Trough earthquake, potential major event. Flights sold out instantly. Then silence. No one could reach me. Back home, my mom lit incense and prayed to every god she could name. And when Evelyn heard the news, she didn't hesitate. She booked a flight to Japan. Peter tried to stop her. He'd already lost everything, his job, his reputation. Their relationship had become a battlefield. "Don't be stupid," he snapped. "Even if you go, Oliver won't forgive you. Don't you get it?" But Evelyn couldn't stop herself. The argument escalated, voices shouting, tears, and then in a blind fury, she grabbed a kettle and swung it at him. The crash echoed through their home. Blood streamed down Peter's face. And just like that, their story, already broken, shattered completely. Peter's voice cracked through the room like broken glass. He screamed, wild and desperate. "He doesn't love you! Don't you get it, Evelyn? He never loved you. I'm the only one who loves you. The only one!" But Evelyn didn't turn around. She didn't say a word. All she left him with was the sight of her back as she walked away. Quiet, distant, final. By some stroke of luck, I made it home safely. My return flight had been delayed, but there were no major incidents. Right before takeoff, my half-broken phone buzzed with a strange call, an unknown number. The flight attendant was already asking me to switch off my phone, so I silenced it without thinking twice. I didn't know then how much that one missed call would mean. When I finally returned, my family rushed to hug me, relief flooding their faces. I told them everything was fine and tried to shake off the fatigue by diving straight back into work. That strange call? It slipped my mind completely. Until the day Peter showed up outside my office building. He didn't look like himself anymore. Gone was the polished, self-assured man I once knew. The person standing before me was disheveled, red-eyed, trembling, his voice raw as he shouted through the glass doors, "Where's Evelyn? Give her back to me! Give me back my Evelyn!" I froze, frowning as I stared at him like he'd lost his mind. And maybe he had. That's when I learned the truth. Evelyn had gone to Japan just before the earthquake hit. Suddenly, everything clicked. The unknown number. That one missed call before takeoff. My stomach tightened, but I kept my face calm, expression unreadable. I told the guards to escort Peter out.
"She's your girlfriend now," I said coldly.
"Not mine." He struggled, shouting her name even as they dragged him away. The bad news came later, through whispers and phone calls, from Evelyn's parents to mine, until it finally reached me. Evelyn had traced my last social media post. I'd mentioned watching the fireworks festival by the river, and she had gone there, searching for me. Like someone carving a mark into a boat to find a sword lost in the river, she was trying to chase the ghost of what we used to be. She called my number again and again, using a new SIM card, but every time she only got a busy signal. She thought I was ignoring her, that I was still angry. So she went looking for me in person, at the inn where I'd stayed. That's when the earthquake hit. The building collapsed. By the time they found her, she was barely conscious. Her leg had been crushed. The doctors didn't know if she would ever walk again. When my mother told me, her voice trembled on the phone. "She kept calling your name," she said softly. "She was still trying to find you." For a long time, I didn't speak. I just stared out the window, remembering the girl who once shielded me during an earthquake back in middle school, the one who had helped me crawl out from under the rubble. That same girl had now been trapped herself, this time with no one to pull her free. My mom hesitated, then asked, "Son, are you going to visit her?" I shook my head. The silence stretched until I realized she couldn't see me, so I whispered, "No, Evelyn and we have nothing to do with each other anymore." After hanging up, I stood by the window for a long while, letting the silence settle. Outside, another city shimmered before me, a new skyline, another fresh start. The world was vast, and I was still moving, still breathing, still alive. I thought about all the places I'd been, the miles I'd crossed, the people I'd lost. And for the first time, I didn't feel heavy, just quiet. The sun broke through the clouds, spilling light across the horizon. I smiled faintly. There was still so much beauty left to see. As for the past, well, the events of yesterday die with yesterday. The events of today are born anew. I hoped, truly hoped, that everyone, including Evelyn, would one day find the courage to flip the table and start over.